Hey YouTube, this video is going to be about touring and why you should or you shouldn't do it. Okay, so first thing about touring is it's going to be the best and worst experience of your life if you're in a band of more than 3 or 4 people. It's going to be pretty simple if it's under the number 3. 3 is like, it'll be good and bad, you know, but more than 3 or 4 people it begins to get really difficult, and understandably so, because touring is a very difficult ordeal. If you're a younger band that hasn't ever toured before, your first tour should be short, quick, and hopefully not very expensive. You should go with booking agents that are trusted in every single town and city that you go to that you want to hit. You have to worry about transport and all these things, and ultimately the biggest thing that you're going to notice on tour that's going to help you out, and that's going to be detrimental as well, if you don't have it, is having something called a guarantee. Now, a guarantee is really important. That's why bands come to cities in the first place. They're able to afford going there and afford to pay whatever people that they need to pay, like if they have their own sound guy or whatever. And typically, if you have about $400 guarantee up front from a venue, that's pretty good, because then you can kind of guarantee yourself, okay, I've got gas, I've got enough for food probably, and a hotel. And I say hotel because not every single venue is going to allow you to sleep just there in the venue or at the promoter's house or whatever. It doesn't really work like that. That's kind of like, that's a cool buddy thing to do, you know, because then you save a lot of money, but really that's not always going to happen. So you have to plan for the worst and either stay in a hotel or have the ability to camp somewhere. Or if it's in the dead of winter, why are you touring anyway? But typically people who tour in the winter already have toured in the summer once or twice, and they know a bit more what they're doing. Well, as I was saying, it's pretty detrimental if you don't have any kind of guarantee. You need a guarantee, otherwise you're screwed. I mean, even if you don't get a hotel, you still only make about $100-200 a gig, and you begin to bank up some of this money. Of course, it's really important for you to also do your expenses, and that means like, okay, John paid for gas this day, and James only paid these 2-3 days, so he gets more of the money at the end of the tour because he paid more money in the first place to get everyone around, or whatever the situation might be. So always keep track of your finances on tour. Always keep track of where you're going to sleep. Honestly, if you have the ability to access the internet and to talk to promoters beforehand and be like, okay, is there any place we can go to crash or whatever, they're typically pretty cool about that, because promoters, they're in the business of inviting bands from other cities to go and play there, right? So they have some semblance of an idea usually, if they're a good promoter. And don't rely on them for that, but usually promoters are still fairly decent people that don't like to screw people out of money and stuff. The other thing I would say is get prepared to buddy up. A tour is a commitment of more than just money and of time. It's more of a commitment of sitting around 2 or 3 other stinky people for an extended period of time, and that's not very fun after the first 2 weeks. Honestly, it gets a little bit obnoxious. So what you really need to do is when you have a chance, just take some time for yourself. Everyone needs time for themselves. Take it when you can, when you're not loading gear or when you're not selling the merchandise, and that's another thing I'm going to get to. It's just a matter of like keeping in check your mental health, their mental health, making sure that they're cool, that you're not about to just get into a fist fight outside of the venue about something really stupid. Usually when it's when there's an argument on tour, it's usually for something incredibly stupid. Honestly, it's just like, okay, we have to get to the next city, why aren't you paying gas? It's like, cause I don't want to, cause I don't have the money. It's like, but you had the money to go and buy this and this yesterday, and then they don't reply, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna pay for it, but when we get back home, I'm gonna beat your ass, or, you know, like, there's always a way to get around things. And you can always choose to make the situation more difficult or more easy, and that's delving into psychology. But honestly, it's like, you have to make it easy on yourselves, and they have to make it easy as well. So that's another thing to really consider if you think you could stand sitting, sleeping, breathing the same air, the same fart, breath, everything for more than a couple of days. If you don't think you could do it, then maybe you should either find a new bandmate or reconsider your options of touring. Another thing is trying to get on big bills. I would highly suggest getting on a big bill as an opener slot, and you know, getting that town to be really stoked on the fact, oh, there's another touring band, this is our hometown favorite, this is awesome. Usually it's a nice big show, and that's a really good call, because if you're with the hometown favorite, then you're destined to have some good merch sales, most likely. People like to drink beer, and people like to spend money for the ticket to get to the show, but are they going to spend any money on your merch? This is important. Merch is paramount. It's the only way you're going to make any extra money other than the guarantee, which you should have in the first place. Even if the guarantee is $100, you should at least have enough merch and hopefully enough of a sales persona or business experience to be able to get rid of at least 4 or 5 shirts, hopefully, at a show. Now that doesn't always work out because people can be stingy, or maybe your shirts are just too unreasonably priced. But here's another thing about merch. If someone comes up to you and they're looking at your $25 long sleeve and they're like, damn, that's really cool, but I only have 15 bucks. If you're on tour, take the stupid sale, man. Lose some money by gaining some money. You might lose 10 bucks on that sale, but you're going to have the $15 which you didn't have in your pocket 10 minutes ago, which you probably need to be able to eat the next day. You have to make some personal sacrifices to a certain extent as well, and just like accommodate to the customer and accommodate to venues and things like that. I mean, keep it simple, stupid. You know, like for example, there could be an 8-band bill that your band gets on in your third, and then the 4th band is sharing the drum kit from the 5th, and then you're just like, well, why don't you guys just set up, we can borrow yours. If they don't want to do it, they're being difficult. But like, you get the idea, right? Like, it's about sharing the gear that isn't very, very, like, you know, necessary. It's not like I'm going to let someone borrow my guitar. A guitar is a personal thing, and usually a snare drum and cymbals is a very personal thing for drummers. But if you got the shells, it's kind of okay, and cabinets are kind of okay, as long as you don't break their cabinets by plugging into the wrong ohmage, which is really frickin' stupid. So guitar players, you should know your shit about that. But other than that, it's kind of like, take your show etiquette, make it a little bit more pleasant, perhaps, because you're dealing with random people and you don't know who they are, what they're capable of, who knows where they're from, what their story is. So you need to be understanding to a certain extent, and just chill out, man. Try and keep your nerves, because if you lose your nerve, then that's when everything really can fall apart quickly. And bands break up on tours, and stupid crap happens all the time on tour, and you hear of these legendary tour stories of things happening to people, and it's like, you don't want to have a lot of those, really, because you're going to have a few, but you don't want to have a lot of those. At least a lot of negative ones. The funny ones are at least funny, but at the time it's not funny at all, and it usually really sucks if there's something really negative that's going on. So other than that, let me see, what else have I covered? Yes, the van. Get a new one or rent one. If you're worried about how you're going to get your gear into a truck, get a van that has a hitch so that you can get a cargo trailer, because those things are frickin' amazing. And get a few locks on that, and make sure that your hitch and everything is very secure, and get someone else to do it if you don't know how to do it. But that's kind of a necessary expense of touring, but it's a one-time expense in terms of, like, if you get a hitch on your car, you're good to go, you know. But in terms of the cargo trailer, unless you buy one, that's going to be the only other expense which you should budget for. So it's definitely a $1.50, $2 to do a 1 or 2 week tour, not including making the merch and all the gear that you have to pay for. But in terms of travel and stuff like that, and the gas money and everything, it's about $1.50, $1.50 for a couple of weeks there, and that's really bare bones and kind of like terrible touring, which I don't want to do anymore, just because it's not that great. The last tour I was on, we had a lot of hotels, which was great. We slept, I think, once or twice at some people's places, and it was also pretty great. But other than that, it was kind of like, it was a stressful thing, as most tours are, and we were only 3 guys, and it was a fun time. I don't regret it whatsoever. It was just like, you know, Canada is a difficult place to tour, probably the most difficult place to tour, just because of how wide this country is, and it's a beautiful country, and I've seen a lot of it, but there comes a point where it's just like, you realize you've traveled across Canada like there and back again. And you go to, and you look at a map of Europe and you're like, shit, I could have been across Europe 4 times. And I know there's people that are going to be like, oh, but what about visas and stuff if you want to tour outside of the country? If you want to tour outside of the country, get a booking agent who can take care of it. Pay them, because they know what they're doing. And I mean, get a good booking agent. It's your investment. They are working for you. You're hiring them, right? So that's my advice for that. If you don't have any faith in yourself booking shows in your home country, get a booking agent there. They exist everywhere. And make sure it's relevant to your genre. Please don't play pop bars if you're a death metal band. That's ridiculously embarrassing for everyone involved. Other than that, I think that covers it. If you have any more questions about touring, please leave a comment in the bottom box down below, because I'm happy to answer the questions either there, or if there's that many, I'll just do a part 2 to this video. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Please don't forget to subscribe, and expect a lot of cool videos regarding other guitar geeky stuff and music stuff soon, man, because why not? It sounds fun, right?